Hi everyone, this is Jay. Um, in this video, we're gonna read the novel we were reading last time. It's called The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. So, right now, we're gonna start from where we left off in the last video. It's from here. So, let's just hop into it. How on earth, my dear fellow? I know you well, and I know the military neatness which characterizes you. You shave every morning, and in this season you shave by the sunlight, but since your shaving is less and less complete as we get further back on the left side, until it becomes positively slovenly as we get round the angle of the jaw, it is surely very clear that side is less illuminated than the other. I could not imagine a man of your habits looking at himself in an equal light and being satisfied with such a result. I only quote this as a trivial example of observation and interference. Therein lies my métier, and it is just possible that it may be of some service in the investigation which lies before us. There are one or two minor points which were brought out in the inquest, and which are worth considering. What are they? It appears that his arrest did not take place at once, but after the return to Heatherley Farm, on the inspector of constabulary informing him that he was a prisoner, he remarked that he wasn't surprised to hear it, and that it was no more than his deserts. This observation of his had the natural effect of removing any traces of doubt which might have remained in the minds of the coroner's jury. It was a confession, I ejaculated. No, for it was followed by a protestation of innocence. Coming at the top of such a damning series of events, it was at least the most suspicious remark. On the contrary, said Holmes, it is the brightest rift which I can at present see in the clouds. However innocent he might be, he couldn't be such an absolute imbecile as not to see the circumstances were very black against him. Had he appeared surprised on his own arrest, or feigned indignation at it, I should have looked upon it as highly suspicious, because such surprise or anger would not be natural under the circumstances, and yet might appear to be the best policy to a scheming man. His frank acceptance of the situation marks him as either an innocent man or else as a man of considerable self restraint and firmness. As to his remark about his deserts, it was also not unnatural if you consider that he stood beside the dead body of his father, and that there is no doubt that he had that very day so far forgotten his final duty as to bandy words with him. And even, according to the little girl, whose evidence is so important, to raise his hand as if to strike him, the self-reproach and contrition which are displayed in his remark appear to be the signs of a healthy mind rather than of a guilty one. I shook my head. Many men have been hanged on far slighter evidence, I remarked. So they have. And many men have been wrongfully hanged. What is the young man's own account of the matter? It is, I am afraid, not very encouraging to his supporters, though there are one or two points in it which are suggestive. You will find it here and may read it for yourself. He picked up from his bundle a copy of the local Herefordshire paper, and having turned down the sheet, he pointed out the paragraph in which the unfortunate young man had given his own statement of what had occurred. I settled myself down in the corner of the carriage and read it very carefully. It ran in this way. It ran in this way. Mr. James McCarthy, the only son of the deceased, was called and gave evidence as follows. I had been away from home for 3 days at Bristol, and had only just returned upon the morning of last Monday. The third. My father was absent from home at the time of my arrival, and I was informed by the maid that he had driven over to Ross with John Cobb, the groom. Shortly after my return, I heard the wheels of his trap in the yard, and looking out of my window, I saw him get out and walk rapidly out of the yard. Though I wasn't aware in which direction he was going, I then took my gun and strolled out in the direction of the pool, in direction of the Boscombe pool, with the intention of visiting the rabbit warren, which is upon the other side. On my way, I saw William Crowder, the gamekeeper, as he had stated in his evidence, but he is mistaken in thinking that I was following my father. I had no idea that he was in front of me. When about 100 yards from the pool, I heard a cry of "Koi," which was an unusual signal between my father and myself. I then hurried forward and found him standing by the pool. He appeared to be much surprised at seeing me and asked me rather roughly what I was doing there. A conversation ensued which led to high words and almost blows, for my father was a man of a very violent temper. Seeing that his passion was becoming ungovernable, I left him and returned towards the Heatherley farm. I hadn't gone for more than 150 yards, however, when I heard a hideous outcry behind me, which caused me to run back again. I found my father expiring upon the ground, with his head terribly injured. I dropped my gun and held him in my arms, but he almost instantly expired. I knelt beside him for some minutes and then made my way to Mr. Turner's lodgekeeper, his house being the nearest, to ask for assistance. I saw no one near my father when I returned, and I have no idea how he came by his injuries. He wasn't a popular man, being somewhat cold and forbidding in his manners, but he had, as far as I know, no active enemies. I know nothing further of the matter. The coroner. Did your father make any statement to you before he died? Witness. He mumbled a few words, but I could only catch some allusion to a rat. The coroner. What did you understand by that? Witness. It conveyed no meaning to me. I thought that he was delirious. The coroner. What was the point upon which you and your father had this final quarrel? Witness. I should prefer not to answer. The coroner. I am afraid that I must press it. Witness. It is really impossible for me to tell you. I can assure you that it has nothing to do with the sad tragedy which followed. That is for the court to decide, and I need not point out to you that your refusal to answer will prejudice your case considerably in any future proceedings which may arise. I must still refuse. I understand that the cry of "Koi" was a common signal between you and your father. It was. How was it then that he uttered it before he saw you, and before he even knew that you had returned from Bristol? Witness with considerable confusion. I don't know. A juryman. Did you see nothing which aroused your suspicions when you returned on hearing the cry and found your father fatally injured? Witness. Nothing definite. The coroner. What do you mean? Witness. I was so disturbed and excited as I rushed out into the open that I could think of nothing except of my father. Yet I have a vague impression that as I ran forward, something lay on the ground to the left of me. It seemed to me to be something grey in color, a coat of some sort, or a plaid, perhaps. When I rose from my father, I looked around for it, but it was gone. Do you mean that it disappeared before you went for help? Yes, it was gone. You cannot say what it was? No, I had a feeling something was there. How far from the body? A dozen yards or so. And how far from the edge of the wood? About the same. Then if it was removed, it was while you were within a dozen yards of it? Yes, but with my back towards it. This concluded the examination of the witness. I see. Alright, everyone. The video ends here today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.